Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Well, I got a little different approach we're doing today because there was some news that came out recently about a antitrust suit that has been brought against the Facebook organization regarding some postings or whatever. And then there's been some discussion on this 230, this Decency Act, and in this recent bill for the NDAA that's being voted on. President Trump wanted this decency thing. He wanted this turned around. I don't know if I understand all the particulars of the 230 Act or whatever it is. I forgot we call it 230 Bill, 230 Act, or whatever, 230 Social Media Decency Act. I understand it that they need to be responsible in some ways for it, but we're living in a very difficult time right now. Not even speaking of this coronavirus and all these other things that are going on in our government. And sometimes as people, we do kind of go a little bit too far, or we go way out there somewhere. And I like to look at things sometimes because the way as a believer, as a pastor, whatever, I like to look at things from more than one angle. I don't like to look at things even that are going on in politics or even in our government, even in social media as far as that's concerned, regarding one direction. Now, I know that there are some out there who are doing things that are definitely not right, and those particular things need to be changed. We have a free speech thing in this country, and these organizations, these platforms, Facebook, YouTube, a few other platforms out there, maybe not YouTube, I'm not sure, but Facebook, Twitter, and a few other platforms are set up for free speech. I don't like the fact that they're blocking conservative speech at certain times, but they need to cease from doing that. And I understand what they're dealing with. We as conservatives and as the right, we would call, and them, some the far left and the media and stuff like that, we may not necessarily know all the inner workings of these situations that are going on, goodness gracious, and social media. But I understand. I watched the reports. I watched the grilling of Mark Zuckerberg and a few other leaders that are of these organizations brought before Congress, a congressional review. I don't agree with the way that they're handling things in some cases, but I do understand that the times that we live in and with the people that we're dealing with in our government, the radicals and everything else, when we have people like Cynthia Johnson, a representative of Michigan, coming out and threatening Trump supporters, maybe even with death, a terroristic threat. If you presented a threat like this in some cities, in some states, you would be placed in jail. Now, I think she may have been suspended. I'm not absolutely sure, but she made some terroristic threats that appeared on social media, YouTube and stuff like that. I do believe that they need to be responsible for that, and those types of things need to be taken down, because these are, I mean, when you start telling the people, and we can show the film, but when you start telling the people that, hey, if you're a Trump supporter, then watch out. We're going to send some of our people, our army is going to come out and go to do. What army are you talking about, Cynthia Johnson? You talking about BLM or Antifa? Because that's the only armies that I know about that are against the conservatives in regard to violence and all these types of things. To me, she was a blatant fool to even open her big mouth, even at the hearings that were going on in Michigan. She couldn't shut up. To me, it was like looking at a high school classroom where somebody blurted out and they wanted to speak out over somebody because they didn't like what they were saying. We got to get away from this in this nation. As I said on my earlier programs, I remember a time when people could come across the aisle and they could either agree or disagree on certain things, but they were able to sit down and agree. If they had certain points they had problems with, they could hash out things. You get this, we get this. And since Nancy Pelosi's behind has been back in there, a lot of that negotiating type of thing has gone to the wayside. But we need to stop this. This is a free country. It's a country that's supposed to be representing the people. And we need to work together as leaders, as politicians, as pastors and ministers. We got to work together. We cannot be working against one another and hoping to be a good thing in this country in which we live or in this world in which we live. Social media, I call upon them to take a more fair view of things. You can have doctors that believe certain things, like during this coronavirus thing. Some doctors have different points. When you have somebody you don't agree with their diagnosis, you're allowed to go to another doctor and to get a different diagnosis, and you go along with whatever treatment that they have. What has happened with that in this coronavirus thing? It's like all of a sudden, if you say something about another type of treatment, then you're blackballed or you're shut up or canceled, as they have been calling it recently. The social media should not be involved with this type of stuff. Facebook, Twitter, none of y'all should be involved in this type of thing. And these fact checkers, don't put it on there. People have a right to choose for themselves. If they don't want to believe this or believe that, there are a lot of different roads out there. They have a right to believe what they want, and they don't need to be directed. You can't have people helping people vote and all these foolishness like that, and that has been considered fraud in the past, and I believe it's still fraud even now, even though everybody's trying to avoid it. And YouTube, they might block me for this because I'm mentioning there is fraud, and fraud has occurred, and these are clear fraudulent activities. And as far as Joe Biden to being the president-elect, that's also another one that has not been certified yet. You can call him president-elect if you want, and we'll continue to see what happens in the interim and coming forward. But we got to stop this trying to stop stuff. And I'm speaking to YouTubers, Facebook, Twitter, any social media sites. We need to stop this. People have a right for free speech. This is why social media is social media. We ought to be able to express ourselves as long as we're not using profanity and preaching hate towards any particular group. Then we should be allowed to express our opinions or our views. As I say, my views may not necessarily be the views of CTM News or its affiliates, but I have the right on my program to express my views. Nobody tries to shut me down or put fact checks under what I'm saying. I am an opinion journalist, but there's a lot of journalists out there that need to be reporting the facts. That's the problem we're having right now in the mainstream media. They're not doing that. They're avoiding things like this thing with Hunter Biden. This Hunter Biden deal, people, and I found this out just yesterday. Some of you may have already known it. This mess has been going on even before 2020 came in. Hunter Biden and his family was under investigation even before 2020 entered. So that was hidden from the media. The media didn't even tell you about that. Hunter was already under investigation. You got people calling for him to be under investigation, and you hear A.G. Barr saying he was already under investigation. He's been starting since 2018. This stuff has been going on. So why are we hiding it now that it comes up near the election time? Because, hey, look, it hasn't been talked about until now because you got his father coming out to run for president. And you don't want the American people to know what's going on? As some have said, I'm darn sure if Donald Jr. was out there, they would have had it all over the news, and it would probably been on the news for several years now and constantly going on the news. But as far as social media goes, I'll send you this warning, social media, as I'm also a part of social media. I want you to understand that we don't have to do anything. And as a man of God, a pastor, that's what I am, the judgment comes from God. So know this, regardless of what you do, regardless of your fact checks, you're trying to stop the truth from going out, the truth is going to get out. At some point or another, the truth is going to get out, and you will not be able to avoid it. But just don't be on the wrong side of truth. Be on the side of truth that is truth, not lying or covering things up. Well, in the news today, also, we got this thing that just took place. Let the Church Roar, Jericho March, prayer rally, peaceful protest in Washington, D.C., also along with the rally Stop the Steal in Washington, D.C. We'll talk about that in a moment as we take a short break here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert.
It's hard to believe that my opponents have been in office for 63 years. I've spent my life learning how to deal with large, complex situations like I found at Reebok and Dollar General. If these politicians had any understanding of the free enterprise system and knew how to make a difference, wouldn't they have done it already? Help me change the childish behavior up there. If we want different results in Washington, we have to send a different type of person to Washington. I'm David Perdue. I approve this message.
Did you know Kelly Loeffler was ranked the most conservative senator in America?
Yep, she's more conservative than Attila the Hun.
Fight China. Got it. Attack big government.
Yeah. Eliminate the liberal scribes.
More conservative than Attila the Hun.
Uh-oh.
Kelly Loeffler, 100% Trump voting record.
I'm Kelly Loeffler. I approve this message.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice of David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. As before break, we were talking about the Jericho March or the March for Trump. It took place on Saturday in Washington, D.C. What I hear was quite an event. There were several speakers. If you want to watch that, the recording, the taping of that, you can find it on our Facebook page here on Facebook page CTM News. You can find it on there. You can look through the right. Matter of fact, all the programs, whenever President Trump speaks or Mike Pence, actually anybody, it's on our site. Even when Joe Biden, even though we're not conservatives, we still advertise. We'll put out Joe Biden's speech and the things that he's bringing forth as well. So we're not hiding anything. We do what we do, and we are representative of the press. So we're not trying to hide anything, but we're also going to come off with the truth because CTM News is the voice of truth. So we're not going to hide the truth. We're going to tell what we think is truth, even in reference to what is being said by the left or the known left. But to me, I just look at it as this. People say left and right. All I see it is right or wrong, because that's really what it is. When you come out there and you say stuff where us as normal Americans with normal brains hear it and say, wait a minute, is that true? And they can say, yes, it is true, because it's very clear in the media what's going on. When you have these affidavits that come out on these trials and these court cases have been brought against this presidential election that took place, you can't deny this stuff. You call the American citizens liars. That's pretty much what you're doing, mainstream media. You can't do that. You also, mainstream media, you're supposed to be reporting and representing the American people as well. I know that a lot of you are owned by liberals and leftists, but we need to stop this foolishness. Report the truth, whether you like it or not. Report the truth. That's what we look for in our news. That is one of the reasons why conservative news is good, much higher. You have a lot of conservative reporters growing by leaps and bounds because we are telling the truth. We're not evading the truth because it's under this person, under that person, under Trump, under Biden, under whoever it is. We're telling it like it is. So if you're out there, you've been watching liberal news rags, you need to start watching CTM News for one thing. We stick to the truth of what's going on in this country. A government is for the people and by the people. They passed a Bill of Rights, a way to avoid a shutdown. They got a thing, the Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence. Let's call it that. Under the Constitution, you can't tell people that they can't speak. We have free speech in this country on our First Amendment rights, religious freedoms. And we have people in this country that's suffering and losing their rights under states that think that they are constitutional representatives. They're not. And Supreme Court, you ought to be ashamed of yourself for even allowing this stuff to take place. You need to get behind our president, get behind these people that are breaking our constitutional laws and keeping our people shut down in the states and causing people to lose their jobs, losing their livelihoods, and some losing their families because of the stresses that are going on. So what about the American people? Who and what we were talking about, I was talking about earlier, I'm sorry, they passed a bill recently, and I think this has something to do with the NDAA and something to fund something for 1 week or something like that to keep this military thing going on in different countries. It passed on Friday the 11th. But the thing is, what have they done about the stimulus package? Have they passed anything with that? The thing to help the American people, to help us business owners who suffer loss? No, they didn't. They're out here touting this fact that they passed this radical bill, the NDAA, and they cut out a part that President Trump told them to include, and that is the 230 Social Media Decency Act. And in a way, I think that act is true, but I also believe that the Congress and them bringing social media people before them, I kind of think in some ways that we need to create a coalition, because we live in a country where social media plays a big part of everything. I think we need to actually create some type of youth or young people's, I don't know what you would call it, some type of committee that would oversee the activities of social media. That's what I really believe. In this day and time, we have to. This government, we got too many other things that are important to constantly be focusing on things outside of what the people of America really need. So what I'm saying is we need to establish an organization. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they can figure out a way to vote on these people, or either have a special election for people to represent what goes on in social media. In other words, some kind of committee, maybe look at the younger members, or either members that are very active in social media. What I'm saying is we need a special group of people. It can go on either side, Democrat, Republican, or whatever side they league up with, independent, whatever. But we need to have some type of special committee specifically set up to look at these issues that are happening with social media. Instead of just shutting things down, we need to look at what's going on, because I have seen some indecent things, even on Instagram and a few other media issues. Now, it has also been said that these antitrust lawsuits that's coming against Facebook may cause them to lose WhatsApp and popular video talk site, and also Instagram. But we don't know whether that's going to happen or not. But we need to establish some type of committee. Maybe it could be something that's appointed by a president or Congress or some group. Maybe a group of educators, I don't know, whoever. But some type of committee set up outside of the government, an independent committee that will oversee, like they used to do in the old days, a censor board. Somebody would oversee that, a censor board, if you will, for the social media organization, because a lot of it's gone amok. It's gone crazy, way out there to the left or wherever. They're way out there. And they're doing things that are, I mean, there's so much stuff going on, so much corrupted activity. Facebook and Twitter and a few other people, they have to be constantly watching those things. And I don't really believe that they're equipped to watch all of it either, because there's millions of people on these sites. So we need to set up a standard that is fair, not blocking clean and American talk and expression, but blocking those things that are supposed to be against decency. Not using this to block political speech or to block religious speech in a fair way. Not to say, we're not preaching hatred, but we're preaching, what I preach is what's in the Word of God. Now, if you deem that to be something else, then you kind of stepped off the line too, because in this country we have free speech, we have religious freedoms as well, and involved in the First and Second Amendments. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with you here in a moment here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth.
Meet Raphael Warnock. He wants you to know he eats pizza with a fork and a knife. He once stepped on a crack in the sidewalk. But Georgians don't care about that. Georgians care that Raphael Warnock was a proud defender of anti-American, anti-Semitic pastor Jeremiah Wright, who suggested America deserved the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Not God bless America, God damn America!
We celebrate Reverend Wright.
Warnock said law enforcement officers are gangsters and thugs and a danger to children. He's anti-Israel, anti-Second Amendment, sympathizes with Marxists and socialists, and wants to make your neighborhoods less safe. Don't let him fool you with pizza and puppies. Raphael Warnock is too extreme for Georgia.
I'm David Perdue, and I approve this message.
John Ossoff and Chuck Schumer have been caught in a lie. Senator Perdue welcomed a full review of his stock trades, and the Department of Justice, the SEC, and even the bipartisan Senate Ethics Committee cleared him completely. Despite that, Ossoff and Schumer continue the lie, spending millions to hide their radical socialist agenda. What else are they lying about?
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. House Minority Leader also in a situation dealing with the 230. Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, said he would vote for the bill, but would encourage members of his party to stand with the president, and if it made good, if he makes good on his threat. And he's talking about the bill, that 230 thing that I told you, Social Media Decency Act. But I'm telling you, we need a separate committee. We need a separate independent committee to oversee the Decency Act, Social Media Decency Act. We need an independent overseers. Maybe not a whole lot of people, maybe an odd number of people, so they can vote on different things, just like you would like a Supreme Court, as some of the Democrats want to pack in this coming session. But what I'm saying, we need something like that so that we can track and get every viewpoint and see how we can keep these things in order. What I want to know is this, I would encourage members of the Republican Party with Republican. He says, McCarthy said that he would encourage them also to back the president on his threats to hold these things up if they're not put out right. What I want to know is that why is there no concern over the American citizens that are still in need in this country? They're still going through these different things involving this coronavirus relief package. And why are so many of our states still shut down and violating our constitutional rights, while the Supreme Court rejects hearing things and just sit by and not do anything to... Now, the president said he wouldn't do nothing, but if we see a constitutional law violation, Supreme Court justices, you need to get out and you need to get in touch with those people to stop this injustice. Why must the lawsuit be... You're supposed to be representing the Constitution. If our rights are being violated, I would think the Supreme Court would step it up and get out there and make some statements in regards to our constitutional rights being violated, because they are. Not be scared to come out because we're talking about the coronavirus or some other illness. I don't care if it's coronavirus or not. It's already been proven there's other mentalities that have already been spoken of, like the herd mentality. Enough people get it, it'll clear up, and we'll get vaccines. Well, now we have vaccines. These states need to let the people out of their houses, let them get back to work, let them live their life as they are supposed to do in this country, because we are a free country. Now, if the vaccines are prepared, and just like any other vaccine, if you want to take it, you can take it. If you don't have to. And I believe us as American citizens, we need to be able to handle our own freedoms and how we address these situations that go on in this country. Because it's already been proven that masks and all this stuff, that hasn't stopped anybody from getting the coronavirus. Even the people who had masks got it. Some that wore masks all the time said that they still got the virus and wondering how they got it. And even Dr. Fauci and some others have said that you could touch your mask or take your mask off, put it back on, and get some type of germs just for doing that. But as we have the President, quote unquote, elect Biden disrespecting African Americans on a Zoom call, touting presidents first, saying to a group of African Americans. I haven't heard a lot about this. You don't hear much about this stuff in the mainstream media. You actually have to come to conservative news to get this information. He spoke to the African American people he was talking to in the Zoom cloud call, whatever the heck you want to call it, as though they were some type of wicked stepchild that they hated. You know, we would never tolerate this type of talk to anybody of any race, creed, or color from any politician in this country. Yet Joe Biden went off and saying all kinds of things. Did come out the president first. I don't care what nobody else got to say. If I don't want to do this, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And this is our supposed president-elect. He is already talking about, hey, look, I told you I was going to do that, but hey, look out. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do what president says first. It's going to be president first. And as he said, he was going to do all these executive orders to help minorities and all these things like that. It's already been proven. The only person that's ready to doing an executive orders are those who are of some different nationalities, those that can add to their voter registrations and vote them back in office. I'm not going to go too much into that because some of us, we already know what I'm talking about. We want open borders. We want to pack the court, which Mr. Biden has denied before, and Chuck Schumer, they all talking about it. Aren't they your representatives, Mr. Biden, in the Senate and also in the House? Nancy Pelosi, aren't they the representatives in your party? Are you going to do something about that? And one other thing that really gets me upset is why are we bringing back all these what do you call them, Obama cronies from his administration? And I'm going to tell you what I said before. I believe a vice president as well as a president should not be allowed in the White House for more than 8 years. When the second term is up for the vice president, I believe they should not be allowed to go back to the White House. You see what's happening? They're trying to repeat the Obama administration by pulling in all the people that he had before in his administration. People, what do we see going on here? We need to stop. We got to figure out a way. Somebody need to get a referendum going so we can get this on a ballot to vote on this thing to keep the vice presidents as well as the president from serving more than 8 years. Well, once again, I want to thank you for joining us here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. It has been my pleasure to be with you today. Keep watching. Also, if you have a small business and you like to advertise, our rates are very, very low, and you can advertise on this channel. We've now reached a point in our advertising, in our viewership. We're now coming in at about 50,000 viewers per day on our channel. And over the last so many months, our viewership, post reach, or even on Facebook, we've gotten up to 850,000 viewers. So this is a viable channel for advertising business, especially this program, the Black Conservative Voice. We did a program recently which we served, here I am in Texas, state of Texas. This is where I live and reign here. So we have 60,000 viewers on one episode here in Texas. So the people are watching. So if you have a business in Texas, if you have a business or church or whatever you want to advertise during our programs, we would love to have you advertise. Our email is in the bottom of the screen. If you want to email us, we can send you out a package. You will not believe the rates. Our rates are extremely cheap, and our viewership is growing. Please do it now before the first of the year, because on the first of the year, we will probably be going onto a cable channel, and our viewership is going to skyrocket. So we open up that avenue to you now at a very low rate. I don't want to discuss the rates here because people might try to match them and try to outdo us, which I really don't think they can do. So please contact CTM News at I think it's one of the emails right there at the bottom of the screen. Once again, I want to thank you for joining us here at the Black Conservative Voice. My name is David Colbert. Join us once again here tomorrow night here on the CTM News Network. Once again, I want to thank you as I always do. I want to say God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. And until next time, this is David Colbert saying good night and God bless.